Hello and welcome everybody to our live online meeting of week 2 of our online course on problem-based learning and learning analytics, how to combine. It's my great pleasure to welcome you here and also to give a short introduction into the second week of our online course. But before I do so, I'd like also to have a look back to our starting of the online course, the introductory week and the week number 1 that was just finished yesterday. In the introductory week, we had the opportunity that you could introduce yourself to all the others, and we would like to invite you to share your personal opinions, your introduction to your interests, as well as your personal information with all the other learners in our discussion forum. And have you already shared your definition of problem-based learning? That would be also great as a starting point for further talks. In week number 1, we have provided a first introduction into the topic problem-based learning, and you have had the opportunity to read about it and to watch videos and to also launch some first discussions about that. It was great to see that some have already taken this opportunity and started some first talks. Nevertheless, we had the challenge that our online environment was not working as we thought and as it was promised. We are still working on that, and for that reason it was not possible to give answers in the first week on all the discussion items and threads provided in the forums. For that reason, you have now a change in second week. We have moved to a different setting for the discussion forum, and you find now for each topic and for each unit in our week, the discussion forum directly below the unit. That is hopefully working better, and you're most welcome and invited also to join discussions about that. As you have already seen, week number 2 is about the introduction, how 2 universities have introduced and are using problem-based learning in their practice. These are 2 of the leading universities worldwide in the application of problem-based learning. That is the Aalborg University in Denmark and the University of Maastricht in the Netherlands. Both have decided to use problem-based learning as default. That means all their study courses and study programs are following that. Sorry for that. Are following the problem-based learning approach and are implementing problem-based learning as a default learning offering and learning methodologies for the students. We hope that the examples from the Aalborg University and the University of Maastricht give you also some insights how you can also implement problem-based learning at large scale. And we believe this is also giving you some ideas how you can use that in your own practice. That's why we'd like to encourage you also in that second week to share examples and to discuss how the University of Maastricht and the Aalborg universities have realized them and what you can learn from it. In addition, we also offer you an optional opportunity for online collaboration. You can join and search for other online learners and peers to work on a common topic and on a common question that you can select by yourself. Feel free to use also this opportunity to connect to the other learners and to find out how you can also use this online course to start a new network and to get in contact with other people also interested in the same topics and the same questions like you. We hope that this online course is also providing new insights for you, and we hope that we can also continue with you in the discussion. I would like also to announce already now that we will have also invited experts in our live online sessions in the following weeks. We will start with a PBL expert from the Aalborg University. Eva will join us next Tuesday in the live session that will start for that reason already a little bit earlier to also facilitate a broader discussion here. And we hope that we can also get the commitment by other experts from the field that they can also share their experiences and also discuss with you some hot topics and your most pressing questions. Having said that, the floor is yours now. Do you have any issues? Do you have any questions at the moment on the whole online course and in particular on week 2, the comparison of the 2 different implementations at the Aalborg University and the University of Maastricht? The floor is yours. You can simply speak up into your microphone, or you can also use the chat room to type your questions into the chat. Okay, I have not seen and heard any questions, but I have good news. Eva Triantafyllou from the Aalborg University is already with us this week, and I'd like to hand over to Eva. And Eva, what do you think? What can you share as key experiences and lessons learned from using and facilitating problem-based learning at your university?
Hi, Christian. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly. Thank you.
That's good. At Aalborg University, we have been using PBL since the university's establishment in the 70s. So that's more than 30 years now. And our experiences is that problem-based learning supports what we call self-directed learning. So students actually have the freedom to decide what they want to learn in order to be successful with their assignments and their projects. Of course, the projects are defined in that way so that they trigger, different kind of inquiries among students. A very important aspect of our implementation is, of course, group work, because students work in groups during the PBL semester projects, for instance. So big lesson for them is how to collaborate, how to manage their time among different people, and that actually prepares them for their professional life, because nobody works alone anymore. So they become really proficient in collaborating with others, and also with people who have not exactly the same background as them or the same interests. So some people may want to be more technical and others not. So they have to find a way to balance that. Another aspect of PBL is a different role for our teachers. So we as teachers have to learn to support this learning process, but not to teach per se, to leave the students follow their path. Of course, warn them when we think that something is going a bit wrong. So take care to put them on the right path again. But actually, in some cases, if they insist, we leave them, to fail, because it's their responsibility actually. So we are mentoring, but we are not teaching per se. I think these two aspects were quite new to me when I moved to Aalborg University 6 years ago. And I think they work quite fine with our students.
Okay, thank you so much, Eva, and also once again, thank you so much for joining already this week as planned. I was not sure, that's why just a few minutes ago I was announcing you for the next week, but it is great that you could already make it this week. And may I ask you about the commitment by your university? We have learned that problem-based learning is not a single isolated methodology used by only a few, but this is already the default methodology at the Aalborg University. How has that happened, and how is the university management supporting it?
Well, as I said, it was decided when the first people founded the university that they would like to follow an innovative at that time approach that will give more freedom to students and will be different compared to other, let's say, more strict environments at that time. So Aalborg University actually came through also a social, change that happened at that time in the educational community, we can say. And since then, the thing is that, of course, PBL requires more resources because, for instance, every group of students has to have a supervisor. That means that there are resources, assigned to supervision, and actually quite close supervision throughout the semester. The curriculum is based in a scheme of 3 courses and 1 semester project. And as the semester project follows exactly all PBL steps, while the courses are used to support this project. That means that during courses, during courses, students learn things that they will use in their projects. The university uses, of course, at least 3 teachers for the courses, uses more teachers for supervising the semester project, and also they use what we call the semester coordinator. So there is actually a person who is responsible of monitoring that the whole semester evolves as it should be. So he's actually gathering feedback from students about how the courses are evolving, if they are too hard or too easy, or if there is a lot of workload or too less, for instance. Also how the projects are evolving, if the students are following the deadlines and the whole process. So in that sense, there are more people involved, but of course, and that requires, as I said before, more resources, but it's a part of the commitment, I guess.
Yeah, that is great to hear, that you also get these required additional resources. What about the students? What is their feedback? Are they satisfied with this, or are they confused, or maybe they do not want to follow problem-based learning in the beginning? What is their reaction?
For first semester students, either on bachelor or on master level, of course, it's a whole new experience. So, of course, they have to get used, first of all, as I said, to the group work. So they have to learn to work together as a team. They have to learn to stick the deadlines posed by themselves, actually. So they have to learn that, to make a contract between them, to make a contract between themselves and their supervisor. So there are many things in the group dynamics on one hand. On another hand, it's also quite strange for them that they have to, and they don't get like specific instructions on what to do, but they get a very broad thing or a very, as we say, ill-defined problem, and then they have to decide where to focus. So they have to find then a smaller problem within this field to solve during one semester. So they have to decide what is manageable in this semester, and based also on their qualifications, and what it makes sense. And also a very important thing that students at the beginning tend to forget is that they should be able actually to evaluate the solution at the end, because one of the last steps of PBL is design, implement the solution, but also evaluate the solution. So they have to learn how to define a problem that can be evaluated, and that can be also be very challenging. Yes, at the beginning, of course, there is frustration, but I think they are quite good to get used to that. And it's very nice to see how they evolve from one semester to another. I think it takes them about 2 semesters to really, get in a very good rhythm and to understand the dynamics and how they should actually perform for getting the most out of this. So it's of course a learning process, and that because it's quite different to what they have seen before at school, high school, or at the bachelor. It takes time, I guess.
Yeah, that is great to hear, that even though that sometimes there is a frustration, that in the end students are not only getting familiar, but also making progress and also becoming also very satisfied with problem-based learning as the standard methodology. As you're using now problem-based learning for many years, I trust that you have also improved it step by step. Can you maybe reveal to us the key lessons learned? What were the most important improvements that you have facilitated and that you have discovered?
That's a very good question, actually, Christian. I think, as I said, I only came 6 years ago. I became part of this university, but I know a bit, the history of it. I know that the university has experimented a lot with the structure of the semester. As I said, now we have 3 courses and 1 semester project, and they try to, to synchronize the content of the courses and the content of the semester. But I know that in the past there have been different settings. For instance, there was a time where there were elective courses. So you had a project and then you could select which course would help you the most, because you may have different directions, in the same semester. So they have been experimenting with different, arrangements, because it's not quite clear how to support this quite independent learning process. And actually there is still discussion if the setting we have it's the best. So actually now, if I may reveal some, secrets, but actually it's now already a reality at some programs that they actually have a semester, and I think it's normally the second semester that the students only have a semester project, because they want them to focus on some specific technical aspects. So actually they only give them quite technical project to solve that they require, of course, for them to be bigger, but they don't have any other courses in that semester. Another aspect that is quite popular these days is how to digitalize the process. So there's actually a huge internal project on studying which tools are being currently used, to support this process, and also either as instructional tools, so what tools teachers use, but also what tools the students use, and how to better, connect them. And also what other tools we could use to support, nowadays this process. So the digital aspects are also quite important these days. And also in the long term, how also from these digital tools and environments maybe, how to gather data in order to better support the learning process. That's a second step, I guess.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing your insights here. And I think this is also hopefully giving a lot of ideas and proposals for our online learners, how they can also use and improve problem-based learning in their own practices. Before we are ending up, I'd like to give you the floor if there's anything that you'd like to highlight in the end. Is there any key message that you would like to pass over related to implementing problem-based learning in practice?
Yes, I would like actually to highlight that as any new instruction method, that when someone is actually trying to introduce a new instruction method, it requires a lot of effort at the beginning. It requires a lot of things to be changed, and maybe more resources compared to other approaches. And also, what is more important, it requires at least 1 or 2 iterations of trying to do this thing before one can succeed. So it requires that you fail before you succeed. So at the beginning, it's not going to be easy, as it is with any other, new things that you're trying to implement in educational settings. So it requires that you do it once and you adjust for the next time, and even for the next time. And then I guess there is a rule of thumb here. I can't say if it is 2 or 3, but I think after 2 times, then the things are in place. So don't get discouraged by the difficulties because they will come, but just try to get as much feedback as possible, and yes, and hang on there.
Okay, thank you so much, Eva. That was a fantastic final statement and very good key message in the end. I'm sure that this will be helpful and beneficial for all of us to also not only think about problem-based learning, but also to use it in our future practice. Once again, thank you so much for joining, and we are looking forward to continue our discussion in the discussion forum. We are also, of course, following up your questions and looking forward to also exchange more experiences, as well as to talk about your challenges and key questions.
Thank you very much.
We can finish here our live online event for week number 2 of our online course on problem-based learning and learning analytics, how to combine. Please continue with the learning activities of this second week, including also the optional online collaborations if you're interested in that. And as a sneak peek, we will have in the third week the introduction to learning analytics. That's why stay tuned and looking forward to continue our online adventure here in this online course. Thank you so much, and see you soon again next week here in the online live meeting. Bye bye.